PepsiCo is out with its earnings this morning. First quarter adjusted earnings rose 10% as consumers stocked up on its drinks and snacks to prepare to spend more time at home. The company also sounding a familiar theme, pulling its fiscal 2020 outlook. Joining us now is the CFO of PepsiCo, Hugh Johnston. Hugh, always good to see you, and thanks for making time for us this morning.
Nice to be here with you all, and obviously we're happy with the results that we reported today. The businesses.
Hugh, I just want to jump in real quick because I want to get to those results in a moment, but I have to ask about what stuck out to me, and I think a lot of folks this morning, is that PepsiCo is going ahead with this purchase of $2 billion of stock, also spending $5.5 billion on dividends in fiscal 2020 at a time when a lot of publicly traded companies are slashing dividends and saying goodbye to the stock repurchase. Why is PepsiCo moving forward with those things?
Well, it's a reflection of the fact that we really do have a very strong balance sheet, and we feel good about the cash flows for the company. We've actually been in the debt markets over the past 4 or 5 weeks, both short-term and long-term, and have been able to get debt financing at attractive rates and for extended maturities. So, we obviously are challenged with the external environment from the standpoint of projecting revenue, but we do feel strongly that the cash flows are there to support the share repurchase and the dividend. So we thought that was an important signal to send to investors.
Hugh, I think, I've been talking to a lot of my sources in the CPG space, and last week I think Coca-Cola spooked a lot of people by how volume trends have been in the industry over the past month or so. What are you seeing in the business right now? A good quarter for you guys across Quaker Foods and beverages, but as you take a step back, how is the business holding up post-quarter?
Yeah, it's holding up well. I think it's important to look at it from a couple of perspectives. Number one, even ex-COVID, we grew about a little over 5% in the first quarter. So our business was strong underlying, obviously benefited at the end because of the stocking up that people did. But we've seen a real difference between foods and beverages. The beverage business, you clearly saw a lot of stocking up on water and Gatorade and things like that. The food business, on the other hand, there's real consumption changes, and in particular in 2 areas. Number one, breakfast at home. People are eating more oatmeal, they're eating more pancakes, and thankfully we have Quaker and we have Aunt Jemima, and they're really enjoying those products. And second is people are working from home. They're tending to graze more during the day. So we've seen a real increase in snacking, and as a result, that demand is sustaining. Beverage business clearly more challenging in that regard as the away from home channels have either shut down and are quite limited. But the synergy of foods and beverages in our portfolio is once again showing to be a good thing for PepsiCo.
Hugh, I think you hit it. I mean, breakfast at home, right? So many of us don't do that when we're out working, and I cannot find Aunt Jemima pancake mix at my supermarket. At least once it hits the shelf, it is gone. But I'm curious if you are experiencing any disruptions to manufacturing, distribution centers because of the outbreak, either with workers being infected, needing to close plants. How are you doing on that end?
It's really had a very small impact on us. Obviously, by virtue of having to put in place some of the practices that we have around social distancing and having people wear PPE to ensure that we protect our frontline workers, it affects our productivity a little bit. And with the number of plants we have around the world, obviously at various times, plants have been closed down for a few days and things like that. But by and large, our supply chain is really resilient and sturdy. And our frontline workers are absolutely terrific. They feel like they're an important part of the food supply chain, and they have that obligation. And they've really gone above and beyond. They are the true heroes of the company right now.
Hugh, you crunch the numbers at PepsiCo. As you look forward to the road to recovery for PepsiCo, the industry, and corporate America at large, what does that road to recovery look like? Is it just more costly to run a public company right now? I know for you guys, for example, you have the direct store delivery model where people are putting groceries in the shelves at supermarkets. How does that stuff change?
Yeah, it certainly has increased the cost of doing business in the short term. Over time, we're going to have to see. The truth is, we've created so many scenarios right now in terms of how things may play their way out. And the difficult part is not creating a scenario, it's guessing what parts of it are going to be right, which is part of why we pulled guidance today. The reality of the situation is we feel like we're prepared for whatever happens, but we're not going to try to predict which one is going to happen because there's so much change in terms of the biology right now that I'm not sure anyone understands exactly what's going to happen. Our job is to just be ready and to control what we can control.
Hugh, unrelated to the COVID-19 situation, halfway down your earnings release, you noted you inked an exclusive distribution deal with Bang Energy. I know the product well. I've been drinking it for a year and a half pretty consistently. You also closed on the Rockstar Energy deal. Why'd you make these deals with energy drinks? It seems to be that PepsiCo is going all in on this.
Yeah, we clearly are taking a much more assertive stance on the energy drink category. Okay, our view is energy is a need that occurs around the world for everyone, from people in their 20s to people in their 60s or 70s. The category of energy drinks has mainstreamed very much. If you go back 10 or 15 years, the user base was relatively narrow. It tended to be younger men who used energy drinks. Now you really see them being used broadly by almost every part of the population. So we sort of looked at it and said, we want to take a more assertive stance. That led to our purchase of Rockstar, and we think we can do a lot with that brand. And in addition to that, our distribution deal with Bang. And in addition to that, we actually think that the Mountain Dew business will benefit because if you think about it, in a lot of ways, Mountain Dew was the original energy drink. And now we're going to take the opportunity to expand that business in ways that people haven't seen before.
Hugh, do you think that, I mean, you're obviously expecting a lot more consumer demand for these kinds of drinks. Do you think that this pandemic has people sort of rethinking their health and that perhaps this might have them gravitate toward drinks like that even post-pandemic?
Yeah, I think you do see, certainly in the short term, an orientation towards people looking at healthier options, although I think there's sort of a mix in that. I think they tend to go a bit healthier earlier in the day and then a bit more indulgent later in the day. That's the balance that we've seen. Certainly with the orange juice business has benefited very nicely from that. We've seen some meaningful growth in that business for the first time in some years. So in general, I think you'll continue to see that behavior of, choosing when to be more healthy and to use functional products for that, and then choosing when to be indulgent to relax and enjoy yourself. The good news is our portfolio kind of spans the entire spectrum of that. So we're well positioned regardless of what need state consumers are in.
Yeah, that it does. All right. Hugh Johnston, CFO of PepsiCo. Always a pleasure. Best of luck to you.
Thank you. Good to see you all.
Hey investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.